Warsaw, September 19, 1940. 5 o'clock in the morning. Zalazna Street. A German roundup has sealed off the block. SS men are shouting, striking people with rifle butts, dragging them out of doorways, loading them into covered trucks. Most people are trying to run. Some hide in basements. Some throw themselves out of second-floor windows just to avoid being shoved into those trucks. One man does the exact opposite. He walks out of the entrance of building number 40 wearing a civilian coat with a fake ID under another man's name in his pocket. He does not run. He does not hide. He walks straight toward a German patrol, raises his hands, and lets himself be arrested. An SS man shoves him in the back with a rifle butt. The man calmly climbs into the back of the truck. He sits by the side, watches the city disappear behind him, and says nothing. None of the other prisoners has any idea that sitting among them is the only person in that truck who ended up there by his own choice. His name is Witold Pilecki. 2 days from now, he will be behind the barbed wire of Auschwitz. He will spend 945 days there. He will build an underground army of 1,000 prisoners right under the noses of the SS. He will write the first report in history describing what the Nazis are doing to human beings inside the death camps. He will escape from there, and 8 years later, his own country will execute him for treason. Why does a man walk willingly into a place from which no one has ever returned? Who gave him that order? And most importantly, who is Witold Pilecki that he takes on a mission no one else would accept? To understand, we have to go back 19 years to a young cavalryman who grew up with one rule: Poland above all else. Witold Pilecki was born in 1901 in Olonets in the Russian Empire. A Polish family of the kind that kept the memory of the 3 partitions of their country as a family heirloom. Poland did not exist on the map of the world at that point. It had been gone for more than 100 years. Russia, Prussia, and Austria had torn it apart in the 18th century, and generations of Poles were born and died as citizens of foreign empires, speaking Polish only at home, in secret, so the neighbors would not hear. The Pilecki family belonged to the Polish nobility, ruined back after the uprising of 1863, when the Tsarist government confiscated their ancestral estate as punishment for taking part in the rebellion. His father worked as a forester to feed the family, and every evening read Polish poets to his children. Witold grew up convinced that Poland is not a place but a duty, passed down by inheritance along with the family name. At 17, he joined an underground scouting organization. At 18, he was already fighting for the independence of a Poland that had only just been restored. 1919 to 1921, the Polish-Soviet War. A young cavalryman in a Uhlan regiment. In one battle near Grodno, his squadron is surrounded by Red Cavalry, and Pilecki, with 24 Uhlans, breaks out of the encirclement, losing half his men, but saving the regimental colors and delivering them back to his own side. He is twice awarded the Cross of Valor. After the war, a quiet life. An estate in Sukhwitz on the eastern border, a wife, 2 children, breeding horses. In his spare time, Pilecki paints icons for the local parish church. A neighbor, a landowner, a husband, a father. Nothing about this man hints at the person who, 20 years later, will volunteer for the most insane mission of the Second World War. September 1939. From the west, Nazi Germany comes crashing down on Poland. 2 weeks later, the Soviet Union strikes from the east. In 35 days, the country that generations of Poles had reassembled out of nothing disappears from the map again. Pilecki's cavalry unit is crushed under the weight of Wehrmacht panzer divisions. He does not surrender. He goes to Warsaw and helps found one of the first Polish underground organizations, the Secret Polish Army. He has learned something fundamental in those 35 days. When a state dies, it has to be carried by individual people. May 1940. In southern Poland, next to a small town called Oświęcim, the Germans open a new camp. In German, that place is called Auschwitz. At first, they hold Polish political prisoners there. Professors, priests, officers, politicians, anyone the Nazis considered dangerous to the future Reich. No one yet knows the word Holocaust. There are no gas chambers yet. The camp has been operating for 5 months. But terrifying rumors start reaching Warsaw. The people the Germans pick up in their roundups vanish there without a trace. Families receive, a few weeks later, urns of ashes and a standard official letter. Died of typhus, died of pneumonia, shot while attempting to escape. The Polish underground is desperate. They don't know what is happening behind that barbed wire. How many people are in there? What are the conditions? Is it a prison? A labor camp? Something else? Without information, you can't warn the population. You can't tell the Allies. You can't plan a rescue operation. Someone has to get inside. Not as an outside observer. That's impossible. As a prisoner. Live there, memorize everything, survive, and escape to tell the story. Pilecki himself proposes the idea to his underground command. Silence falls over the room. What he is suggesting has no precedent in the history of warfare. No one had ever voluntarily sent himself into a German concentration camp. He is 39 years old. A wife, 2 children, an estate, a former life, and he has just volunteered for a mission with no manual, no protocol, and no realistic chance of success. How do you deliberately get yourself thrown into a concentration camp? Step 1. Papers. Going under his own name is out of the question. The name Pilecki is on the Gestapo's list of wanted Polish officers. The underground produces a forged ID under the name Tomasz Serafiński, a real person who managed to go into hiding and whose fate is unknown to the Germans. Step 2. The roundup. You have to be arrested naturally, without arousing suspicion. On September 19, 1940, the Germans are planning a large roundup in the Żelazna district of Warsaw. Underground couriers learn about it 48 hours in advance. Step 3. The entry point. Show up on the right street at the right hour. Don't resist, but don't look too obedient either, because that will raise suspicion. Just be an ordinary Pole caught in the dragnet. Step 4. Memory. No notes can be kept, no maps, no names on paper. Everything has to stay in your head. The layout of the barracks, the names of the guards, the methods of killing, the names of the prisoners, the death tolls, all of it. Step 5. Silence. His wife doesn't know. His children don't know. None of his friends know. Only 2 men in the command are in on the plan. This is not an intelligence operation in the conventional sense. It is a one-way disappearance with a theoretical, barely visible chance of someday coming back. September 22, 1940. Transport number 2 in the history of the Auschwitz camp pulls onto a sidetrack of the Southern Railway. 1,705 prisoners. One of them is Tomasz Serafiński, and beneath that name, Witold Pilecki. He receives a tattoo on his arm. Number 4,859. From this moment on, he stops being a human being and becomes a number. The first night. Searchlights, the barking of German shepherds, the screaming of SS men. Several prisoners from his transport are shot on the spot to terrify the rest. In the morning, what the Nazis call intake begins. Stripped, shaved, ice-cold shower, issued a striped uniform. Senior prisoners called capos beat newcomers with clubs for any reason at all. Pilecki's first shock. The camp is nothing like a prison. It is a machine for killing people through work, and that machine has a specific output rate. The average life expectancy of a new prisoner is a few weeks. More than half of his transport is dead within the first month. Winter of 1940 to 1941. Typhus, hunger, temperatures of -25. The uniforms have holes in them. Footwear, wooden clogs on bare feet. The food ration is 700 calories a day. Pilecki comes down with pneumonia. By every medical standard, he should be dead. He doesn't die. Somehow, his body refuses to break. But that first month teaches him something important. On paper, his plan was brilliant. On day 3 inside Auschwitz, he understood that paper knows nothing about Auschwitz. You can't just live there and observe. First, you have to learn how to survive, and only then can you start building. The underground begins with 5 men, a principle Pilecki had been taught back in the Warsaw Underground, the principle of 5s. Each member of a cell knows only 4 other people. No one knows the whole network. If someone is caught and tortured, he can give up at most 4 others. The chain doesn't break because there is no chain. There are individual cells of 5 linked together only through one person above them. That person above is Pilecki. He builds the network slowly, carefully, through work. First, he gets himself assigned to the carpentry workshop. Then, through connections, he transfers to the parcel office, where packages from prisoners' relatives are processed. Then to the camp infirmary, the most valuable place in Auschwitz, because there you have access to data, to bodies, to the SS doctors, and to the dying, who in their final hours tell you things they never told anyone in life. Each new workplace is a new node in the network. He recruits officers, doctors, engineers, priests, ordinary laborers. Every recruitment is a deadly risk. One traitor, one weak man, one informer capo is enough to bring the whole network down in a single night. Pilecki develops his own method for vetting candidates. He watches a man for weeks, sometimes months. How he behaves in line for soup. Does he take from weaker prisoners or share with them? How he reacts when an SS man beats a random prisoner. Does he look away or does he memorize the guard's face? What he says in his sleep. Who he writes letters to from the camp. Only then does he approach with a conversation. By the beginning of 1942, his underground organization, the Union of Military Organization, has several hundred members. By 43, more than 1,000. What do? They redistribute food from those who get parcels to those dying of starvation. They smuggle medicine from the infirmary to dying men in the barracks. They preserve the documents of the dead so that, after the war, their fates can be established. They record the names of SS men and the details of their crimes. Who beat someone to death, who shot someone, who carried out the selections. They prepare a plan for an uprising in case the Allies ever come close enough to the camp. And, most incredibly, they build a radio transmitter. From parts stolen piece by piece out of the camp workshops, prisoner engineers assemble a working shortwave station right inside the infirmary. Tubes are taken from medical equipment. Capacitors come from the radio set of one of the SS men brought in for repairs. The antenna is hidden under the roof. From the autumn of 42 until the spring of 43, this station transmits data directly to the Polish underground in Warsaw, and from there to London. Until the SS finally triangulate the signal and the transmitter has to be dismantled and hidden. By that point, thousands of messages have gone through it. Pilecki's first reports get out of the camp through released prisoners. In the early years, the Germans sometimes released prisoners whose families had enough money or connections. Each released prisoner from the underground network carries with him messages memorized by heart. Those messages reach the Warsaw Underground, from there to London, to the Polish government in exile, from there to the British and the Americans. The reports contain precise monthly death tolls, the names of SS men, descriptions of killing methods. Starting in the summer of 42, gas chambers. The arrival of the first Jewish transports from Slovakia, then from France, then from the Netherlands, then from Greece. Auschwitz transforming from a camp for Polish political prisoners into a factory for the extermination of European Jews. Pilecki sends a precise description of the process, how they are brought in cattle cars, how on the platform they are divided into those who will go straight to the gas chamber and those who will first be used for labor. The numbers, thousands of people a day. The reaction of the Allies, silence. The information is considered exaggerated, unverified, possibly Polish propaganda aimed at speeding up the opening of a second front. The British do not bomb the railway lines leading to the camp. They do not bomb the gas chambers themselves. They do absolutely nothing. Inside the camp, Pilecki does not know why. He thinks they need more details, more proof, more specifics. He sends more, and more, and more, and in response, nothing. He risked his life every single day to get the truth out to the world. The world received that truth. The world did not believe it, and went on not believing it for another 2 years until it was already too late for millions of human beings. By the spring of 1943, Pilecki realizes there is no more time. Several key members of his organization have already been arrested and executed. The network is at risk of exposure. An uprising from the inside without outside support is doomed. And on top of that, he himself has been in the camp for more than 2.5 years. His face is known to too many people. The risk of being recognized grows every day. He makes a decision to escape himself, to personally, in his own voice, deliver the information to those who make decisions. The odds of escaping Auschwitz are by this point considered zero. In the 3 years the camp had been in existence, only a handful had managed to escape. For every escapee, the SS shot 10 prisoners from his block as a deterrent. Anyone planning an escape had to first accept that his escape would kill 10 other people. The plan comes together through the camp bakery. The bakery is outside the main perimeter in a small separate building, and it operates on the night shift. Pilecki and 2 accomplices, Jan Redze and Edward Ciesielski, get themselves transferred there. It takes several months because every transfer has to be justified and every movement is recorded in the camp logs. The night of April 26th to 27th, 1943, Easter night. The German guard at the bakery is weakened. It's a holiday. Many of the SS men are drunk after dinner. At 2 o'clock in the morning, the 3 prisoners finish their shift, bake the final batch of bread, just like always, shut down the ovens. Then they cut the telephone wire leading to the guard hut. They pry the bolt off the back door. They throw it open and run out. Gunfire from the guards rips through the darkness almost immediately. They run in different directions so the guards can't herd them into a single group. A bullet grazes Pilecki's shoulder, but the wound is shallow. They meet at an agreed-upon point in the woods an hour later and continue together. For several days, they walk on foot across southern Poland, navigating by the stars and the sun, avoiding roads, hiding in forests, sleeping in haystacks. They eat raw potatoes from the fields, wild onions, anything they can find. At one point, they are spotted by a peasant, an elderly Pole on a small farm. He silently leads them down into a cellar, feeds them bread and lard, gives them clean clothes, sends them back out onto the road through his garden. He doesn't ask their names. He won't take money. A week later, they reach the underground network. Pilecki is alive. He is free. In his head, he carries 945 days of information, 2,000 names, a precise map of the camp, and a detailed description of the extermination process, which by this point has already swallowed more than 1 million people. 1943 and 1944. Pilecki writes Report W, the most detailed document about how Auschwitz operated in the entire Second World War. Hundreds of pages, names, dates, numbers, barracks diagrams, descriptions of gas chambers, methods of selection, names of SS men, biographies of prisoner heroes and prisoner traitors. The document is sent to London. Again, silence from the Allies. August 1944, the Warsaw Uprising. Pilecki is back in the fight, commanding a company in the northern Wola district. He fights for 63 days. The uprising is crushed. The Soviet army sits on the eastern bank of the Vistula River and does not move while the Germans methodically destroy the Polish resistance. This is not an accident. It is a decision made by Stalin. A Poland that can liberate itself is no use to him. He needs a Poland that he himself will liberate. Pilecki is taken prisoner again, this time in a German officers' camp. He is liberated by the Americans in 1945. The war is over. Poland is back on the map, but it is a different Poland. He has survived Auschwitz. He has survived the Warsaw Uprising. He has survived 2 German camps. The most terrible chapter of his life is still ahead of him, and it is his own countrymen who will deliver it. 1945. Poland is now under full Soviet control. A communist government is set up, taking its orders directly from Moscow. The Home Army, the Polish underground movement Pilecki belonged to, is declared an enemy of the new state. Former fighters are arrested, deported to Soviet camps, shot in the basements of Warsaw prisons. The Polish government in exile, still based in London, asks Pilecki to return to Poland under a false name and gather information on the Soviet repressions. The same men who sent him into Auschwitz are now sending him into communist Poland. His friends try to talk him out of it. He could stay in London, get British citizenship, finally see his wife and children, who in 1944 had fled Poland and gone into exile. He refuses. He returns in December 1945 under forged documents. For a year and a half, he conducts intelligence work, sending London reports on Soviet crimes, deportations, arrests, executions. On May 8, 1947, he is arrested by the Polish secret police. The interrogations last nearly a year. He is tortured by officers, many of whom had spent the war in safe offices in Moscow. They break his ribs, they knock out his teeth, they keep him from sleeping for weeks at a time. They hang him by his arms. At the only visit he is allowed with his wife, he tells her one sentence she will carry with her for the rest of her life. Compared to this, Auschwitz was child's play. The public trial takes place in March 1948. Fabricated charges, espionage on behalf of foreign imperialism, plotting assassinations of the leaders of the new state, treason against the motherland. The presiding military judge reads out the indictment, in which Pilecki is called an agent of international reaction. The defense attorney, appointed by the court, does not ask a single question. The verdict is announced within a few hours. Death by firing squad, May 15, 1948. Mokotów prison in Warsaw. They take him down into the basement. One shot to the back of the head. The body is dumped into a mass grave somewhere in a Warsaw cemetery. The exact location is hidden by the authorities. For years, his family does not know where their husband and father is buried. He was 47 years old. From 1948 to 1989, the name Witold Pilecki is forbidden in Poland. You cannot speak about him, write about him in books, mention him in school textbooks. 41 years of official non-existence. His children grow up bearing the stigma of being the children of an executed traitor. His wife lives under the surveillance of the secret police until the communist system itself dies. In 1989, the communist government falls. On October 1, 1990, Witold Pilecki is fully rehabilitated. All charges are dropped, the sentence overturned. In 2006, he is posthumously awarded the Order of the White Eagle, Poland's highest decoration. In 2013, posthumously promoted to the rank of colonel. The location of his burial has still never been found, to this day. Somewhere in the Pulaski Cemetery in Warsaw, in a mass grave of victims of communist terror, lies the man who walked voluntarily into Auschwitz to tell the world the truth about what was happening there. Witold Pilecki, by his own free will, stepped into the most terrible place of the Second World War. He survived there for 945 days. He built an underground army of 1,000 prisoners. He escaped. He wrote a report that could have changed the course of the war if anyone had thought it important to read it in time. The Germans could not kill him. Hunger could not kill him. Typhus could not kill him. The gas chambers could not kill him. It was his own country that did it, the country for whose sake he walked in there. Sometimes the worst thing in war is not the enemy. Sometimes the worst thing comes afterward, from the people you considered your own. Witold Pilecki learned this twice. The first time was when the world refused to believe his report. The second time was when a shot to the back of the head in the basement of a Warsaw prison put a period at the end of the story of a man who risked everything for the truth and got nothing in return but a nameless mass grave.